Johnny Murray here, and welcome back to another video. We're going to be talking about, once again, another Xbox Developer Direct game. Again, this was a game that I talked about during the podcast live this week, but I am turning it into its own video. And yeah, just doing this intro, we're going to be talking about South of Midnight. Now, this is a game, as you're going to hear from me and what I explain, this is an interesting one because there's a lot of ups, there's some concerns, but this game is looking special, it's looking unique, it's looking interesting. How is it going to fare? We're going to talk about some of the things going on with the game, some of its concepts, giving you my thoughts and impressions on it, kind of going over what I think the game is going to do, what's going to do well, what it might do bad. We're just kind of going to have a full-on blown discussion about South of Midnight, which is one of the games shown at the Xbox Developer Direct, being developed by Compulsion Games. This is obviously an Xbox first-party studio and just an Xbox game, releasing day one in the Game Pass, and I'm really looking forward to this. This is a big step for the studio, and there's just a lot of potential, a lot of positives to talk about this game, and how beautiful it looks, and how interesting it is. So we're going to talk about it. Like I said, if you guys love gaming, consider subscribing, share with your friends. Appreciate all support you guys give me. It doesn't matter what you love, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, third-party PC, indie, VR, whatever it may be. We cover games on this channel daily, and I appreciate all the support, especially the support on this video right here. But without further ado, let's talk about South of Midnight, one of the more interesting games coming out this year. So, when talking about South of Midnight, I feel like this is an interesting one because I feel like this is going to be one of those games where the concept is there. It's either going to just be solid or it's going to exceed expectations, kind of like Hi-Fi Rush. I feel like this is one where it looks really cool, and I'm like, it seems like a passion project, but like, does it meet standards, right? And I feel like with Hi-Fi Rush, that was kind of the same thing, where it was like, okay, it looks cool. Will it actually be all that, though? And then when everybody played it, they were like, oh, yeah, no, it's all that. No, it's awesome. I'm really hoping the same thing happens with South of Midnight. Obviously, I do think this is a bit of a different story. I do think South of Midnight is a bigger production overall. It is probably a bigger game in some senses. It's been worked on and been advertised a lot more. But I think this game has a lot of potential, and we're going to talk about that, or we're going to talk about all the reasons, what I think of all the different aspects about the game. But the main thing, the first thing, it's on everybody's mind. Let's just get out the way. No matter how good the combat is, how the story is, how the music is, there is one aspect about this game that will forever just be the best aspect about the game. It's going to carry hard, not in the sense of like the other aspects suck, just that this aspect is genuinely what is driving the game's like interest and excitement, and that is its visuals. Its art style is just phenomenal with the stop motion, claymation looking stuff. It just looks so awesome. And also what I'm going to include here with the visuals is its setting as well. The fact that it is taking place in the Deep South, which is just a culture and a setting and environment that almost has never been explored in games before, I think is super duper cool. The way they've explained it and the way that they've presented like what inspired them to go here, what inspired them to learn more about it. It just is such an interesting concept, an interesting idea that if executed on can really be something of its own. It can be very unique. It can be very just interesting, right? So we'll see how it lands in terms of like how they bring it to life, because I think that is something that's going to matter for a lot of people. Is will the concept deliver? You know, we have the concept, it looks really cool. And what this game is it's an action-adventure game, you know? So this isn't a straight-up platformer. This isn't just a straight-up action game. This isn't a puzzle game. Like, this is an action-adventure, so it's going to have a bit of all of that. This isn't going to be open world. This isn't, you know, this isn't going to be any kind of thing like that. It's an action-adventure game with a narrative focus to it. And I'm all for that. I think that's absolutely awesome. Sometimes you don't have to make the biggest open world. Sometimes you don't have to have the most rich progression system of all time. Sometimes you don't have to have more dialogue lines in the game than you do pixel count. Like, sometimes you just need a really solid story with some solid gameplay, with some solid visuals. Boom. There you go. Awesome game. And I think that's what this game could be. But I think this game could be very unique and just stand out very, very well. Which I think is why this game even has the amount of hype that it has. Is because of just how unique and how interesting that it looks. I don't think you could ask anybody to predict like its Metacritic score or what it's going to get from IGN. I don't think you can ask anybody to predict that with them being 100% confident, because this could go so many ways. This is coming from Compulsion Games, which they have made interesting games in the past, but to say that they have never missed, or to say that they have delivered some really high quality things in the past, is kind of a stretch, because they've made low budget things. They've made things that were kind of just like whatever. They've made things that are cool but kind of okay. Like, there really hasn't been any concrete evidence to be like, yo, this game is going to hit. This game is going to be awesome. Which I do find that a little worrisome, because with a game like this, with it being a huge step for the studio, you have to ask yourself, okay, how underdeveloped or how bare bones is it going to feel? Like, are there going to be aspects or part of this game where you feel, man, the sequel, I'm sure, can improve on this a lot, but currently, how it stands, it's not too hot? Or will it be like, man, this studio really outdid themselves? You know what I mean? I feel like it can really go one of two ways there. And I'm really excited to see. This is a game I actually personally picked up on my Fantasy Critic, because I do think this game has a lot of potential to exceed expectations. I do think there is definitely a floor for this one. I could see this being a high 70s or low 80s for the fact that, like I said, this is a small studio, the huge step into a big budget. I could see the combat not being deep enough. I could see the progression not being deep enough. I could see it being too short. I could see it being a multitude of things of why the game doesn't meet certain people's standards. But at the same time, from the things that we do see here, the music, the world building, the story, the visuals, I can see it being those high 80s because it does meet certain standards. So I think that this is, again, going to be a game in the sense of, what do you want out of it, and does it meet those expectations? Because if you are going into this expecting super rich combat, like the most satisfying, like, action sequences of all time, if you're expecting a god tier OST, if you're expecting a story to introduce you to multi-iconic characters, I don't know you're gonna get it. You know, I just don't. I'd be shocked if you do, to be honest with you. But if you're expecting a game that is going to be a breath of fresh air, if you're expecting a game that is going to be beautiful, if you're expecting a game that is going to be fun, if you're expecting a game that is going to be creative, that is going to explore things that haven't really explored in games before, then South of Midnight is for you. And I think that is one thing that a lot of games get wrong and get right, is what audience are they targeting? And from the consumer's perspective, what do they want out of that game? There are so many games where it's like, well, this should have been like that because this game did it that way. Yeah, well, that game's not that game. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that can go wrong in terms of consumers' expectations compared to what is actually delivered in the product. And it's just really sad to see certain games get that treatment. And so when this is a game that releases in Game Pass to millions of players day one, when this is a game that looks as unique as this one because of its art style and its world building, I think you have a lot of potential to exceed expectations, no matter what they are, in a way. The problem is, I don't think this is a surefire guaranteed game to do that. But we'll just have to wait and see. Like I said, I'm super duper excited for it. It is releasing in April 8th, I do believe, so we're not too far away, honestly. I'm very, very excited for this one. I do think that this game will be a breakout. I wouldn't say hit in terms of like sales or whatnot. I do think this will be a breakout hit in terms of like reception to the game. I do feel like that this could be another Hi-Fi Rush moment. So we'll see with South of Midnight, but I love the concept. I love the ideas. I love everything we've seen. I just do have my concerns, do have my questions. but we won't really get answers until we play the game ourselves. That's the most important part about any game, playing the game yourself. You won't know until you play it. And so, yeah, let me know in the comments, what do you guys think of South of Midnight? I would love to talk about it, love to answer questions, all that good stuff. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Johnny Moore out.